Hola, ¿cómo están? Hoy quiero invitarlos a ver escenas de una serie de televisión y escuchar a Michael Lucas, creador y guionista de una historia que pensé me había gustado tanto porque el tema que aborda es lo que ocurre en un departamento de prensa de televisión, pero la verdad es que va más allá porque se enfoca en los 80 con todos los temas de esa época. Veamos. Michael, ¿por qué elegiste esta historia?
Well, I was a child in the 80s, and so it's the first decade that I can remember. And also, as a child, those 80s news events, the Challenger exploding,
Esa.
Chernobyl, they made a really big impression on me. 1986 was the first time where I think I was able to understand a little bit about what those news events were. And I remember my mother crying over Challenger, and I remember being very scared by Chernobyl. And so it was really interesting to me as an adult to go back and research that time and look beyond my childhood memories of it. I would define it as the story of Dale and Helen, the two characters played by Sam Reed and Anna Torv. And I would say it's about their relationship, a unique relationship and a complicated relationship. And she is at the top of the news but wants to be a reporter, and he is at the bottom of the news and wants to be a newsreader, and they help each other. And the heart of the show for me is that relationship and how it changes their lives.
¿Cómo es el personaje de Ana para ti?
She is an amazing actor. She can do so much, often without even much dialogue. You can put the camera on her face and she can give you 5 different things at once. And also, she's incredibly intelligent as a storyteller. And she had a lot of ideas for Helen, and they were brilliant. They were brilliant ideas. We had very, very long conversations, and I was always careful to listen to everything that she was saying because she is so smart, and because she knows what it's like to be a woman in a masculine world swimming with sharks. And so she was not just a great actress on screen, but she was also a great collaborator in the storytelling as well.
¿Tú piensas realmente que la televisión aumenta los egos?
I think so. Yes. I think that drive to be on television, well, often I think it's people that have a lot of ego that seek that, that want to be there on that screen. And especially in the 1980s, television was the dominant medium. There was no internet. And so when you were on television, you were really, really famous. And the proportion of people that watched television news in that time was immense. And so, of course, I think it couldn't help but affect people's ego. And also people with big egos would be driven to it as well.
Tus padres fueron realmente muy importantes y referentes para explicar ciertos temas de esa década, de los 80. ¿De qué manera colaboraron?
Both my parents helped me, yes, because the characters of Helen and Dale are my parents' age. They were my parents' age in the 80s. And so I felt like I was reaching back in time to look at what it was like for my parents to be working at that time. And for my mother, obviously, it was really interesting because she was in workplaces and her mother hadn't been, her mother had not worked. And for my father, he was an AIDS doctor. And so for him, the 80s was the peak of his career. And because he was an AIDS doctor, he went on television news a lot. So both of my parents' stories, even though they didn't work in news, they had a big impact on this story.
Tu papá también es un médico muy prestigiado y conocedor del gran drama de esa época, como el SIDA.
Your father. Oh, my father. Well, yeah, he was on television a lot. Yeah. And it was a bit like in the past couple of years, a lot of doctors are on television because of the pandemic. And in the 80s, it was the same because of the AIDS epidemic. So yeah, I would watch him on TV news a lot.
Michael, ¿cómo invitarías a los chilenos a ver The Newsreader?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would love to invite audiences in Chile to see the newsreader. And I just hope that they can connect with the characters in this world and remember those events, those big news events that rocked the world in the 1980s. And I hope they enjoy it. And I hope they want to come back to see season 2.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
La serie de Newsreader la puedes ver en Universal Plus o Plus. Se puede descargar en el celular incluso. Es australiana y ha recibido con razón todos los premios. Por eso la recomiendo.